do you think the Hamas, they are ready to relinquish power in Gaza?
Yes, for those who already know the story, the invasion of October, last year by the Hamas, October 7th, by Hamas, where over 2,000 or 3,000 armed Hamas terrorist organization, as the case may be, invaded Israeli communities and killed over 2,000 to 3,000 or 5,000, kidnapped as many as they can, and then that was the beginning of the crisis. From what we are gathering, almost 70% of leaders, both in Lebanon, Syria, Iran, wherever they are, has been killed by Israel as a result of that invasion. And Israel has vowed already that they cannot longer allow, it's just like in Nigeria allowing a Fulani around you. Your life is at risk at any time. Anything can happen. And the Israeli government, under Benjamin Netanyahu as the prime minister, is saying this will happen under my watch. Whose brother carried a military mission in Uganda and rescued Israelis that was held hostage by India on the process. Benjamin's elder brother lost his life. So, from a military background, I'm now a democratically elected president. And so you are telling me that you have the guts to dare a family like that under the watch of Benjamin? Oh, they have received it. And it's a big lesson to them. But let me say what actually triggered the uprising against Hamas by the Palestinians is that it has come to a point that they discovered that the Hamas cannot defeat Israel.
That Hamas cannot defeat Israel.
That is the true picture of it. That they saw what happened. They saw the rate at which Israeli military intelligence we are taking out all the Hamas, almost all of them, including the one that is how they call it, omnipotent, that they are own omnipotent and omniscience. They call him the same war. The other one is Haniya. You can see how Israel was able to kill all the almighty whatever they target to be at another time. So it tells you that Israel has come to stay, and they can tell you from their experience in 1945 what they went through in the hands of Adolf Hitler to this day today. Israel has vowed that never again, no matter, even I can tell you, no matter who you are, no matter the nation, they are small, but they are mighty. I can tell you that what triggered it is that no, the citizens haven't discovered that they cannot actually go against Israel. That Hamas cannot even defeat Israel.
So when Georgia says that the case may be reversive to say they suspect that maybe Hamas can defeat Israel, they will have supported
initially, you can see a wider jubilation from the Arab world and of course from the Muslim nation, especially in the Middle East, when Hamas carried out that suicide mission inside Israeli community on October 7th. I can tell you what October 7th.
Was Gaza Strip jubilate when Israel was attacked?
That's what I'm telling you now. Everybody was jubilating. They were celebrating the Hamas invasion, thinking that they would have used that opportunity to finally encourage other Arab nations around the world to invade Israel and conquer Israel. And like they always say, make sure that there's no place for Israel to exist as a nation again within that space. But unfortunately, the Israeli structure fought back, and the God of Israel fought back, and within a space of time, Israel was able to regain control, of what happened, and they took it up from there till this moment. So, having clearly discovered that under Donald Trump, one aid cannot go to Palestinians. Hamas, when you talk compared to Biden, and of course Barack Obama, massive support to Hamas and Palestinians that encourage the funding and digging of tunnels up to 500 pieces within Israeli and Gaza Strip. How can money that was meant to champion maybe education, well-being, can be channeled into digging of tunnels? So, unfortunately, that reality stared them on the face, and they come to that point that, see, Hamas is not match to IDF, that's Israeli Defense Forces, and that was how the citizens themselves now actually turn against Hamas, and that's what the essence of that massive protest.
You recently raised a point here that their original target was to erase Israel from that place, and that thing you said remind me the target of Iran. What you just said has been the Iran's target to erase Israel from that land, and we have seen how they have been going about it, planting different terrorist groups around Israel. And recently we saw how they showcased their underground tunnel full of arsenal, weapon of mass destruction. What do you think is going to happen? How do you think Iran is going to react?
Whatever they react, I think to an extent, Israel was able to take down most of their leaders inside Iran themselves. You know, that tells you. Even this one they are making, that's talking now, in no space of time, I think Israel is going to track him. You know, if they kill their main leaders, their army leaders, their chief of army staff, whatever, they inside their own land. So is it not enough to tell you that Israel are not joking, even with your crutch of arms, missile, nuclear, whatever you have? The thing is that they have continued to enrich uranium again, and continue to show a kind of threat to Israel, and of course to Israeli allies. And we are going to watch Benjamin Netanyahu's presence in White House this today or tomorrow. And from what we are hearing, he's going to stay long for there, because a deal has to be finalized finally on how to deal with Iranian nuclear threat. And the forces that is coming from Russia also signaling support for Iran is already creating a kind of friction between Donald Trump and the Russian president Vladimir Putin currently now, and everything now trying to create a ceasefire within Ukraine. You know, Zelensky and the rest of them. You can see the power again. You know, that is playing out, the power struggle that's playing out. But I can tell you, without reservation, that at any point in time that the Iranian government failed to comply with international atomic agreement, nuclear agreement, you know, disarmament agreement, then Iran will be in for trouble, and they will see the level of conquest or conquer, dismantling and change of regime that will take place there. You can see what happened to Assad in Syria. They've all left, you know, those who took over now. And unfortunately, a woman became, you can see what is happening. You understand, in Syria currently now, a woman is showing, and that's what is going to happen to Iran if they continue to show a threat. And I want to use this opportunity to let Vladimir Putin understand that, you know, without the support of US and other allies, you would have conquered Ukraine, agree. But now Donald Trump has trying to call both parties together for a dialogue, a long-term dialogue on issues that has to do with whatever that have led to that war, NATO presence, whatever you see, international forces, UN forces, whatever it is, can be resolved. And anybody that poses a threat to the entire world, to US and Israel at this point in time, will have him or herself to blame.
In conclusion, Mr. Shinedu, don't you see that the world is going to the Third World War? Because all of them displaying of weapon of mass destruction every day. What is this one telling you? And even China is not even keep silent. I hear that China was even telling US that they are ready for any type of war. What do you have to say?
Let me tell you very clearly. China is part of the industrialized nations. I think top 5 or top 7 or thereabout. It's okay if they are growing up in that regard, but they shouldn't pose any threat to those who mean peace in the world. And when I mean peace, I'm talking about America. And who are the Chinese allies? China can never defeat America. China can never ignite world war. If they try, they will be conquered. Bro, as simple as that. I've done my research, I've done my analysis, I've read wide, I've consulted, and I discovered that it will be very difficult. Just like when Colin Powell was there and Susan Rice was there, he said that the American state, nation, as a world power has come to stay. And no nation, I'm talking about 10, 15 years ago, when Susan Rice was still, I think, in charge of African affairs or foreign affairs, under Colin Powell, you know, the first black chief of staff of America. They made it very clearly that not even Russia, not even USSR, not even China. I agree that China has a commercial strength, agreed, you know, but they does not pose any military threat to the United States of America and their technology. They can never. So what we are seeing will not lead to World War. But I can tell you that the world is about to play a major politics on the restoration of Africa. And when you talk about Africa, you talk about, you know, how we are going to have kingdom or nations or countries that will be like what we are experiencing currently in Sahel nations. What's it called? Confederation, Sahel Confederation, led by Ibrahim Traore of Burkina Faso. And what is going to happen to West Africa any moment from now because of Russian interests, BRICS, because of Chinese interests, commercialization, and because of American and other interests also. And that's why everybody is sitting down gradually now to see how they can restructure West Africa by looking at the issue that had to do with Biafra sovereignty.
No, everything end up on Biafra sovereignty. So what is your expectation? I mean, in this all this thing, how do you think it will transfer to Biafra?
No, it's just like when you talk about international policies, national policies, regional policies, continental policies. You know, how does it bring world interest to an interest? The world powers have interest, and at what point do you think that interest can be protected? Look at the way Sahel Confederation put out of ECOWAS and threatening to leave AU completely and to be able to consolidate on the solutions, political solution on how to solve some of the conflicts within Africa and the UN resolutions and the issue that has to do with the Berlin Wall. That the Berlin sharing of Africa has also been questioned today, that has triggered the issue of Christians being killed within West Africa by Fulani and all that. And you will know that there are evangelical nations, you know, who are looking at this thing, and the only possible solution is to create a kingdom, a nation like Biafra, where they will stand as a force to checkmate and protect the world power's interest in West Africa. A lot of them are already signal and giving their endorsement on how to go about the Biafran restoration, and that's where Biafran factor actually come in, and it's becoming prominent, you know, around the world currently now, because what is happening in France, what is happening in Israel, what is happening in America, the interest of powerful nations trying to see how they are going to share, get their own interest, bilateral relationship with Africa, you know, who are going to protect the interests of these nations as they conduct to labor for a certain bilateral of one nation and another within African context. And I ask you, America, who is representing America in the Middle East? Then in West Africa, who is going to represent Israel and America in is it the Sahel? And remember that Nigeria as a nation is being surrounded by French and Islamic oriented nations. So there is need for them to plant, you know, a Christian nation like Biafra within this space, so that they can be able to see how they keep Africa in peace. And that's the essence of support we are expecting for Biafra restoration and sovereignty.
Thank you very much.